I want to be happy. Don't you? Hi, I'm Conchetta, cueing everybody to just be happy. I know some days it's not an easy thing to be. Today I was having one of those days. Do you ever wake up, the sun is peeking through your window, but you just don't want to get out of bed? You feel sad and you don't even know why. The French word malaise comes to mind. It's defined as a general air of discomfort. General. It can really screw up your whole day. Malaise is that overwhelming, slumpy feeling, and you don't exactly know what's causing it. If it lasts longer than a few days, malaise can turn into anxiety and even depression. When depression turns into stress, it affects us physically. I mean, if you wake up with a headache or you open your mailbox to a fistful of bills, you know why you're unhappy. When you know specifically what's making you feel bad, sometimes you can fix it, or you can just decide, hey, I am not going to let this ruin my day. The problem arises when you don't know exactly what the this is, or at least that's what we tell ourselves. The truth is, when we ignore people and situations in our lives that upset us because we can't or don't want to face them, we say, I don't know why I'm feeling like this, I just do. Yeah, right. So what can you do about malaise? Some days, I handle it perfectly. That's when I manage to do whatever needs to be done, and then I just let it go. Take a walk in the park, feed the birds, pass by people walking their cute little dogs that always make me smile. And eventually, I find myself feeling sort of happy again. Today, I know I should have, but I didn't want to go take a walk. So, I just sat in my malaise. I remember many years ago in my early 20s, I lived on the 12th floor in this tiny studio apartment in New York on 34th Street and Dyer Avenue. It was directly across the street from the exit of the Lincoln Tunnel. When I looked out my window, any time, day or night, I'd see a steady stream of cars, horns honking, and that sign, Dyer Avenue. They spell it with a Y instead of an I, but it was like a neon billboard reminding me of my rather dire with an I lifestyle. I was a struggling actress, but while some may have described my situation as somewhat dire, I was happy living there. Maybe because every day was an adventure. It's often like that when you're in your 20s and feeling like that song in West Side Story. Do you remember it? The music was written by Leonard Bernstein with great lyrics by Stephen Sondheim. Something's coming. I don't know what it is, but it is gonna be great. It was always a great day when my unemployment insurance check arrived in the mailbox. The first thing I did was walk up to the bank on 6th Avenue to cash it, put money aside to pay my rent, and then get groceries. Groceries. I barely had enough left for eggs, bread, coffee, and orange juice. On my way home, I'd find one of those street vendors selling a bunch of daisies for about $1. I didn't need groceries as much as I needed those daisies. I'd place them in a big glass jar and set it on the windowsill. They covered up some of the dire view of the Lincoln Tunnel. Looking at those daisies always made me smile. I used to call them my happy flowers. Over the years, I've progressed to yellow roses and pink peonies, but even now, there's something so special about a simple bunch of daisies. This was one of those days when my happy had disappeared and I was in a general state of malaise. I needed a pint of ice cream and blueberries, so I took myself to Trader Joe's. I was walking around in the produce section and ended up in the flower department, where I noticed a bucket of the most beautiful daisies. Not sunflowers, not Gerbers, real daisies. I found myself staring at them, once again sadly aware of what life is like when, although I'm now living in Los Angeles, today I felt like I was on Dyer Avenue spelled with an I. I know I'm not alone. People all over the world every so often find themselves living on Dyer Avenue while just trying to get through life. Whether your degree of dire is minor or critical, There's a proverb that says, just before the sun rises, the sky is at its blackest, suggesting that when times are at their worst for us, they will soon get better. Or, as theologian Thomas Fuller in 1650 said, it's always darkest before the dawn. I picked up a bunch of those daisies, added some baby's breath, another favorite flower of mine, and began to feel a sense of peace. Now, nothing had actually changed. But when we think about the blessings in our lives instead of the dire, we experience a shift. Tonight, those flowers are sitting in a vase on my dining room table, soft music playing, a scented candle nearby. After all these years, daisies still make me smile. Maybe it's because their delicacy in some way mirrors our lives. They love the sun, and they survive howling wind and pouring rain, bending so they won't break, adapting through storms until they pass, then reaching toward the sky and continuing to grow when the sun returns. The malaise I felt all day is gone. I think it's easier now that I'm at a lovely age to get past unhappy days faster because I can't waste time and energy feeling like that. Life is short and it's not getting any longer. Instead of telling myself, I don't know why I'm feeling so bad today, I faced what was upsetting me and realized it was created by a person and situation beyond my control. I had to let it go. So, I moved myself out of being unhappy by finding something to be grateful for. Daisies. You probably heard that when we focus our attention on whatever is upsetting us, we just create more of it. And when we feel there's no way to solve the problem, we enter into the worst stage of all, worry. That's when your brain won't stop, and pretty soon worry turns into fear. How many times in your past have you worried about scenarios that never happened the way you thought they would? We can't worry ourselves into controlling what's happening in our lives because most of the time we have no control over all the stuff we worry about. Worry leaves us feeling frustrated and helpless. It creates stress, and stress can kill you. That's not hyperbole. We can't afford to spend time riding that roller coaster all the way down until we scream. So, when we can't make it stop, I give it a gentle pause. I sit in my special place, become very still, and listen to my heart. I don't mean the one that beats. I mean my inner wiser self. Try it. Try listening to the wiser part of you. Don't drown it out with noisy worrying, what if this, what if that? Close your eyes and place yourself completely in the present moment. The things we fear are not in the room. They're living inside our head. I remember the many lovely years I've lived through when I was afraid because I didn't know how things were going to work out. But guess what? They worked out. And I'm still here. You are too. Once again, I have to quote Sondheim. He gave us a great mantra when he wrote, I got a feeling there's a miracle due, gonna come true, coming to me. I have a dear, dear friend who's almost 90 years old. And when I'm losing it, he allows me to vent on the phone and worry for about 10 minutes. Then he gently acknowledges my concerns and reminds me that all the stuff I think could happen hasn't and might not. He says, don't assume anything. Just breathe and go with the flow. Tonight, I was flowing. I poured a glass of Cabernet Sauvignon and decided to have my very own happy hour. When drinks are sold in bars and restaurants at reduced prices, they call it a happy hour. But did you know the term happy hour began after the First World War and was coined by American sailors? They arranged relaxing, morale-boosting athletic activities called happy hours to relieve themselves of what they described as the drudgery and boredom of life at sea. It's what I call the dreaded malaise. You hear those finger snaps? You've just been cued. Find your relaxing, morale-boosting daisies or whatever it is that makes you smile. Then listen to your higher self and maybe a little Sondheim. Top it off with a cup of tea or a nice glass of Cabernet. Salute. Cheers. By the way, if there's something you'd like me to talk about on my next podcast, find me on YouTube and leave your suggestion in the comments section below. I publish a new episode every 2 weeks. I hope you'll subscribe, and please tell your friends and surround yourself by like-minded people. Meantime, be happy. Why not?